We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk about films past, present and future. And today we celebrate our Brexit, Independence Day. Hey! Hello Trilbee, how are you?
Hooray! Economic
so
collapse. Resigning politicians. Mass unemployment. The death of our health service. Our Independence Day.
Britannia rules the waves, or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Been an eventful week for you guys there in Britain.
Oh, that is... right, since the because we didn't do the podcast last week, but it's clear that we need to keep this podcast going permanently, because whenever we don't do it, the world goes to ruin. Like, Anton Yelchin dies because we didn't do the podcast, and then all of a sudden, the British economy tanks, and all around my birthday, I turned 24 when we were away.
Oh, gee, you poor thing.
Thank you for my birthday present, UK population. Thank you. I'll treasure it.
I'm just making a note now. Don't miss podcast before US election. Okay, good.
Yeah, if for some reason Trump or whoever gets elected, it's the podcast's fault.
Well, he's the only one who called the Brexit vote going the way he did, and he's like, yep, same thing's going to happen in November. When I saw on the news all the Leave people were like, oh no, the world has ended, I'll be like, yeah, there'd be a lot of that in November if Trump wins too. A lot of people would be like, it's the end of the world.
But the day of the referendum, the day of the Brexit vote, Donald Trump was asked in an interview, what do you think Britain should do with the Brexit? And he was like, sorry, what? The Brexit? What's that? Britain leaving Europe? Oh yeah, I think they should leave. That's what that he didn't know about the Brexit until the day it was happening. And then he visits Scotland that weekend, and he's like, these Scottish people, they did great, they took their country back. Scotland voted to remain. He doesn't know anything.
Well, the interview I saw, it looked like he was still in America. But anyway.
He visited Scotland over the weekend. Or maybe because Scotland looks like America now because they're not part of the EU.
Well, they said on the Australian news there's been an 80% increase in British people Googling move to Australia. So I was like, oh, cool, yeah. We're not part of the EU either, so you can move here if you want.
Me and my girlfriend might move to Toronto or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Trey's not around. Is he calling in later? I'm not sure.
He can call in later and we'll accept him, but I think it's about he's got family business and I think moving. I think he's moving somewhere.
Moving house or something like that. All right, so it's probably just going to be us. So, let us get into the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
Okay, so first off, we should probably mention that Anton Yelchin passed away over the last week, tragically in a car accident. You might know him from the new Star Trek series. He played Chekhov.
He's only 27, but he's been a busy person over the past decade. Like he's in Terminator Salvation as Kyle Reese, and Terminator Salvation.
Oh, that was him. Yeah.
It's not really a good film, but he was a perfect replacement for a younger Kyle Reese. He was probably the best thing about that movie. And that movie, yeah, like when you're up against Christian Bale. And, of course, the acting powerhouse known as Sam Worthington.
Ooh, it's hard to top Sam Worthington.
Exactly, and the fact that Anton Yelchin stole that movie, that's an accomplishment. He's Clumsy Smurf in the Smurf movies. He was Charlie in the Fright Night remake, which is actually a really good remake. It's one of the few horror remakes that works. He was in Green Room recently, which I wasn't a fan of, but he was okay in it. He seemed like such a genuine guy, and it wasn't a good death as well. To be like, obviously, there's no such thing as good deaths, but he was trapped between. He was getting out of his car, and he went behind his car. There was a fault with the brakes or with the neutral gear stick or something, and then it rolled back and pinned him against a wall and crushed him, which is a depressing way to go. And I think there's going to be a massive lawsuit about the car company because I think it was like a faulty product. But he seemed like such a genuine, really great young talent. It seemed like maybe in his 40s, if he just kept on going, he probably would have had an Oscar on his mantle. He had great potential.
Yeah.
So it is a really sad loss, and he's still got like 5 films left. He is a very busy guy. He's got Star Trek Beyond, We Don't Belong Here, Porto, Rememory, which is a terrible title, and Thoroughbred. We're going to be seeing Anton Yelchin for another 2 years on the screen, which is surreal, but the guy worked hard. He was busy.
Yes. Very, very sad indeed. He will be missed.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Moving on. Second of silence.
There's no way to like have an easy transition after that.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, a Rogue One, a Star Wars story has announced that they might actually ditch the Star Wars opening crawl. The iconic, it's Star Wars tradition to have that opening crawl, but they say, because Rogue One, a Star Wars story, it's the first of the anthology series, which is not exactly the same, as we all know, as the traditional Star Wars movies. It's sort of, what's the word, spin-off movies.
Yeah.
So they're gonna, it says here in the article, it says, it's its own movie in many different regards, so they're going to have to change a number of things, one of which might be the opening, and maybe even some of the music, they say. How do you feel about that, getting rid of the opening crawl?
Well, I don't think they should get rid of the crawl. I think that they could change the music. Because there was that Star Wars Clone Wars animated film from like 2008. It's a really, really bad film. It has one awesome action sequence where there's like literally a vertical wall fight. It's really, really cleverly done. But that has the opening crawl, but it has different music. It has like an adjusted version of the John Williams score. And I'd be happy with that, but it just seems like a change for the sake of change. Like, obviously they want to differentiate it, but we're still going in there for Star Wars. It's still part of the same universe, and yeah, I don't know.
And if they're the anthology movies, and the anthology movies can be set at any point in the timeline, then you kind of need the opening crawl even more, so the audience knows where this is set.
Yeah, we need the context.
Exactly, yeah, you need that storytelling tool of the context. So, okay, this is just before A New Hope, but after Revenge of the Sith, or, whether it's a Boba Fett movie or whatever it is. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but,
yeah,
I think, trust Disney.
I think that the opening of a Star Wars film is special, regardless of which film it is. You sit down, you see the Lucasfilm logo, and then and the logo, it's just great to be a part of. And it will be weird watching a Star Wars film without that. You'll be expecting it, and then when it doesn't happen, you'll just be thinking about that for the first 30 minutes of the film. So, this is good, but where was the crawl?
So, Independence Day Resurgence, the box office has come in, and the reviews have come in. Not necessarily great. So the film came in. At the moment, the film stands about 34% on Rotten Tomatoes, or tomatoes, and has also managed to bring in $41.6 million its first weekend, which when you compare to the original Independence Day, which when you adjust for inflation, was about $76 million. So it's underperformed with that. Probably since it's been waiting around all that long. But, it's not off to the greatest start.
No.
Both in terms of general audience interest and critical response.
Yeah, I think 20th Century Fox were hoping that this would be their Jurassic World for this year, that it would make tons of money opening weekend. It's a long overdue sequel to a very well-regarded film from the 90s. But I don't think that people are really bothered about it. Like, there's no moment in the trailers that are like the White House blowing up. It's not as novel, it's not as interesting, and no one cares about the Diet Hemsworth and whoever the Will Smith son was. I don't think people, and also the reviews didn't help. The reviews haven't been great. So,
yeah, well, the movie wasn't that great. We'll
talk about
it when we get to it. Yeah.
But it's interesting that this is a movie that should have made $100 million easy opening weekend if it had been good, if the stars had aligned properly. But the fact that it couldn't beat Finding Dory in its second weekend, which had an incredible hold, it had the highest grossing animated opening weekend of all time last weekend. So you'd think, maybe it's going to drop off the map really quickly, because the higher you are, the faster you fall, basically. That's the box office sentiment. But Finding Dory, it only fell like, 35-40%? It didn't fall as much as it should, and that movie's going to pass $1 billion easy. That's going to surpass Finding Nemo. Yeah,
well, that actually was the next story, so I got it here. I can give you the numbers. Independence Day only took home $41 million. Thanks to a minimal second-week drop-off of Finding Dory, only 45%, Dory was also able to set a record for the animated film's second weekend, $73 million, beating out the previous record holder for over a decade, Shrek 2. But it says here, it says, Independence Day Resurgence, far from being a resurgence. It was more of just a sort of sputtered and sort of just stumbled into the corner and just did stuff. But they put Independence Day Resurgence out now because they thought this will be able to hold its own against Finding Dory, and it just got eviscerated by Finding Dory.
Do you think it would have been better if it waited a week and actually got that 4th of July area? Because the 4th of July is on a Monday. So it's an awkward placement for it, but maybe it could have held off for a week, and that way people would everyone who's already seen Finding Dory will have already seen it, and then they might have moved on to something new. What comes out next weekend, do you know? I think Tarzan comes out next weekend.
Yeah, well, maybe they moved it up just because they didn't want Dory to have an extra week ahead of them or something. Maybe they should have. Because that way, that 45% drop from Dory on the second week would have filtered into Resurgence, and it'd be doing a bit better.
Maybe, but Roland Emmerich over the past week has been talking about making a new Stargate movie and a Stargate movie trilogy. That's probably not going to happen now. Independence Day Resurgence, it did well internationally. I think it opened well in China, not like Warcraft big, but it did well in China. So. And the movie, it doesn't even end, it just stops when the sequel's about to start. So they clearly have plans for franchise material, but people just didn't seem to care about this. I knew it was coming up, I knew that this movie was being released, but I didn't realize it until maybe a day or two before it was about to come out. It just sort of snuck up on everyone. There wasn't much hype for it. No,
not really. And there wasn't anything. Oh, we'll save it for when we get to the bit.
Yeah.
So those are our main news stories for this week. Shall we jump into homework?
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment. You're going to go out. You're going to start a fight with a total stranger. You're going to start a fight, and you're going to lose.
Okay, so I know Finding Dory hasn't come out in Britain yet. It hasn't come out in.
God, as if things couldn't get worse.
Well, it's because you're the back of the line now, that's why.
Yeah. Just pour that salt. All that Australian salt.
But, I saw Finding Dory. I won't give any spoilers, because there's other countries as well that haven't got it yet. Finding Dory, obviously, as we just mentioned from the news, it's doing really well. A lot of people seeing it, a lot of people enjoying it. I saw some reviews have said, it's as good as the first. I actually disagree. I don't think it is. I mean, it's good. It does drag on a bit, though. There was actually times where I was like, I don't know. Because I was hoping that having seen this after having seen Independence Day Resurgence would wash a bit of that taste out of my mouth, which it did. But it does drag on. It tends to drag on a bit because I think a little bit it differs from Finding Nemo in that with Finding Nemo, it's not just about the dad trying to find the son. It's also about the son's journey. So there's a lot of different sort of messages woven in that, and a lot of the different characters were sort of woven in much more organically. Because this one is just about Dory trying to find her parents. And, they put all these obstacles in the way of her, but they put, too many. So it sort of gets to a point in the movie where you're like, okay, can she just meet her parents now? Oh, okay, now they're on a truck. What are they? Okay, now we're going to... Oh, okay, now they're off the truck. Now they're in somewhere else. And you're like, ugh. So, it drags on a little bit. But, overall it was pretty good.
So was making the comic relief side character from Finding Nemo the main character, was that the right approach? Because it kind of backfired with Cars 2. So did that work? Did it work for Finding Dory? Was she actually enjoyable for 90, 100 minutes as the main character?
Yeah, not really, no.
No?
No.
Simple answer. I like it.
Well, what happens is, like, I won't spoil it again, but because she sort of gets separated from Nemo and Marlin, that's her dad's name, isn't it, Marlin? She sort of teams up with an octopus as she's like going through this aquarium and all that. A lot of it's set in an aquarium, and I guess the aquarium is supposed to be the straight man, you know, to Dory's sidekick, but it just doesn't work. They just don't have the chemistry the same way that Marlin and Dory did, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil. But yeah,
Okay,
there's
fair
my
enough.
quick views. It's good, but it's not as good as the first one.
Okay.
All right, what did you see?
Also, just a side note, I apologise if you can hear screaming in the background. In the Euros 2016 football tournament, England are playing Iceland, and my girlfriend's getting very worked up about it. So I apologise if you just hear yelling and cheering or booing. So since we've been away, I've not had much time for movies, depressingly. I've got 1 week left of this job, and then I'm finally, free time. Hooray!
Is that the
But
job
I
that
did
took you
see.
up to Scotland?
Yes, it is. Yes, Scotland was fun. That was a fun trip. Went to Scotland, went to
Did
Liverpool.
you eat haggis?
No, I didn't eat haggis, actually. I stopped off at a Tesco and ate a sandwich, got a coffee. And it's
Please
like
tell
going
me you
to...
at least wore a kilt when you were there.
I didn't, depressingly. Although I was in my car, so I could have got away with it for most of the trip.
Yeah.
It's like going abroad and then just eating McDonald's. Like, I could have had that at home. But I did this past few weeks manage to see Race, which is the Jesse Owens Olympic biopic directed by the national treasure Stephen Hopkins, who directed timeless classics like Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.
Wow.
just thought I'd throw that in. But yeah, Race.
I saw the posters for that. It's a black man running away from swastikas, it looks like.
Yeah, basically that's
Because it's
far we've
Olympics
got.
that were set in the Nazi Germany before the war, yeah?
Yes, it's the Olympics in Berlin when the Nazis were like, we want to prove that the Aryan race with blonde hair, blue eyes is the best race in the world. So let's hold the Olympics. Let's get hundreds of film cameras and broadcast it to the world and prove our superiority. Then all of a sudden, this black man who goes against all of our ideals, he actually wins 4 gold medals and does badass stuff, and he's amazing. And yeah, it's basically a twee Olympic story in the vein of like Eddie the Eagle. I imagine this would make a very good double feature with Eddie the Eagle and Race. And in fact, Tim McInerney, who Blackadder fans will know as Captain Darling, he plays snooty Olympic committee chairman in both films. I actually thought that was a really small world. But yeah, it was actually a pretty solid biopic. It's a bit long. It's about 20-25 minutes longer than it should be because it focuses a lot on Jesse Owens' romance with his girlfriend, and then they become engaged and everything. I think that was probably the least interesting part of the film. But it only cost about $5 million, which is like, I say only, that's like more money than I'll probably ever see in my lifetime. But despite its scope, and like it's a period film from the 30s, it spans years, it goes from country to country. It has a lot of special effects. There is like some sketchy green screen, but you can't really fault the ambition. There's a shot where Jesse Owens goes into the Nazi Olympic Stadium for the first time, and it's meant to be like 1 3-minute continuous shot, and you can see the cuts, but the fact that they even tried on such a shoestring budget, I think it's admirable. Stephen James plays Jesse Owens. He does a really good job. Jason Sudeikis is the obligatory older white trainer, which is what these movies tend to have. Like Creed was very similar. And there's also 42. It was the baseball player, and they made a biopic with him with Chadwick Boseman and Harrison Ford. I think that's the better film, but it's a similar template. But I think the person who stole the show in this film was German actor Barnaby Metzschlat. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He played Joseph Goebbels, who was like the head of Nazi propaganda. Mm-hmm. He is a slimy individual in this film, and he's so deliciously villainous. It was really fun. It was a solid biopic. I recommend seeing it if you can. It is an inspirational story about just going up and and just holding your middle finger up to oppression and xenophobia. So in that regard, it's an unqualified success. I think it's solid. Jason Sudeikis is actually a pretty capable dramatic presence. He does really well in this film. So I recommend seeing Race. So, yeah.
Great. Awesome.
And I saw another film, if we got time for another. I saw the new Michael Moore documentary, Where to Invade Next.
Yes. You mentioned that before.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was out yet.
Yeah, it came out in America. I think it had very limited release at the end of 2015, so it could qualify for the Oscars, and it didn't get nominated. But it just got released in the UK to very limited release. There was like a live Q&A on June 10th, I think, where Michael Moore was doing a live streamed Q&A across the country. I couldn't make it because it was like at 7 o'clock in the evening, and I didn't finish work till about 10 o'clock that day. But for Where to Invade Next, basically Michael Moore, there's this sort of fictional subplot around the movie where he claims that he's been asked by the United Nations to go and invade all of these other countries to bring back the best aspects to improve America, to make America great again, so to speak. And I'd
imagine he'd take a lot of anti-Trump shots in the documentary.
I don't think he took many. I think he didn't keep it that topical. It's very self-contained.
Yeah. Actually, Trump probably wasn't on the radar when he was making it. Yeah.
Maybe not, but he goes to Italy, and people there get paid, like they get a 13th salary, they get 8 weeks paid holiday, they get great maternity leave. He goes to France, where they have like A-class school meals, because amazing school meals that make me incredibly jealous, and they have sex education, which is really efficient there. And Finland, even though that for their educational policy, they have no homework. They only have like 4 hours of school a day, and that includes a 1 hour lunch break. But somehow they have the best education results in the world. Somehow. And he goes to all of these countries. He goes to Norway's prison system. He visits their prisons for rehabilitation, and they have some of the lowest what's it called? When criminals, after they've been released from prison, they commit crimes, are going to get locked up. They have the lowest rate of that. I've been working all day. I don't do words good. He went to Iceland, which is one of the few countries who actually survived the economic crash, and it's primarily because in Iceland they were the country to have the world's first democratically elected female president, and they have a male to female quota where companies cannot hire they have to have at least 40% women or at least 40% men. It's true. Wow. It's true equality there. You can't just have all women running a company. You need 40% men. Conversely, you can't have 100% men. You need 40% women. And because of that, their economy has just shot up since that legislation. They're doing they're actually kind of like a European beacon right now, and stuff like that. But the most affecting sequence is when he goes to Germany, and one of the things he takes away from there is their humility. Or maybe humility is the wrong word. It's their because they're aware of what
the Germans are very humble. Yes,
no, terrible word. I'm tired. I'm tired. It's been a long week.
I know, it's late where you are. Sorry about that.
It's all good. But because you are, just all of that salt. But because everything that happened in the 30s and the concentration camps and the xenophobia that went on, they are educated about that. They're told about that. And in front of many houses in the street, in the paths in front of the houses, are engraved the names of the Jewish people who lived there and were forced away from their homes and killed, and they're taught about that so they don't repeat those same mistakes. And Michael Moore wonders what should be taught in America about their history, which is really harrowing stuff. It's the type of movie that preaches to the already converted. I liked it because I agree with most of what it's saying, and Michael Moore fans, I'm sure, will lap it up. And I think the humor and Michael Moore's personal touch is kind of where it falls flat a bit. There are some Michael Moore moments of humor that just don't really work and kind of detract from the film. But I still think it's worth looking through the window of what all of these other countries are doing and how America's meant to be the greatest, most progressive and most brilliant country in the world. And yet all of these countries are just leaps and bounds ahead of them in a sense. And I was waiting for the punchline at the end of the movie explaining why America doesn't do these policies. And there is a brief epilogue, but it feels like that should be the start of a whole new chapter. And it kind of feels like the movie stops. But it's a really interesting watch, and it just kind of makes me think, oh, well, why doesn't Britain have have debt-free tuition for universities? Why don't we have awesome labor rights like in Germany? Why don't we have amazing May Days like Portugal do? Stuff like that. It's a really interesting window, and if you want a bit of culture and just knowing more about what's outside of your window, then I recommend Where to Invade Next.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out, yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be on Netflix pretty soon,
cool.
in a couple of months, so. Because Michael Moore documentaries tend to do really well on Netflix, so I check it out there.
All right, awesome. Yeah, sounds interesting. Well, I guess it's time for our feature presentation.
Oh, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to our feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we saw Independence Day Resurgence this week, and we're not really going to bother with doing non-spoilers in this, just because it's essentially the first movie again, and so we're not going to bother.
Yeah. There were probably maybe one or two plot details that we might just jump around, maybe until a bit later on in the discussion. But really, it's a simple story, kind of, maybe, sort of. But if you've seen the trailers, you've more or less seen what the plot is. There's not really a lot to spoil, really. There's no major... Maybe saying that there's no major deaths isn't itself a spoiler. Maybe saying that there's no major twists isn't itself a spoiler, but we don't care.
Well, there is one major death. You forgot about it. It's not that major then.
I remembered it, but I didn't consider it major. I was like, oh, that guy, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he didn't even have a line when he dies, like, hello, boys, I'm back, like that other guy.
Yeah.
From the first one.
Yeah.
Right,
I forgot about that death. I was on about the scientist. I forgot that happened. That's how little... I saw this film literally 24 hours ago, and I already forgot that happened.
All right, well, look, I will put timestamps down below for those who haven't seen it. So, all right, what's your overview thoughts of Independence Day Resurgence?
Okay, I think Roland Emmerich has forgotten how to make a fun film.
Yeah.
Because Independence Day, it's full of plot holes, full of dumb stuff, but it's fun. It feels sincere. Like Trey always says, fun does not equal quality, which is true, but I don't think that the two are mutually exclusive. I think you can appreciate a movie because it's fun, and Independence Day is like that. It's about unity, it's coming together, it's got a very sincere message. And Independence Day Resurgence just feels like, it's been 20 years, let's do another one, maybe get a trilogy out of it. It doesn't feel like it has that heart. And it's weird that this film, Independence Day has become more known as its like cultural impact and its iconography more than its actual quality, which is why I think that this movie didn't do as well as in the box office as 20th Century Fox had hoped. But really, there's just not a lot here. Like, there's not a lot to talk about. Like, there's some great special effects and there's like the sequence where the alien spacecraft lands above the Pacific Ocean. Which part? All of it. Like that's the sort of stuff I live for in these blockbusters. But it
picks up Tokyo and dumps it on top of London somehow. They really could have done with a wide shot, so we at least know what's happening there. Yeah,
that's something I was going to bring up later.
There's no wide. Terrible.
There's no wide shots. There's no wide shots to get a sense of scale. Like near the end of the film,
you really need that in a movie like this.
Yeah,
it's all about the scale.
Yeah, when the spacecraft near the end of the movie leaves the bigger one, there's no wide shot to show just how small a drop in the ocean that is. And it's stuff like that.
You know what? There's a real lack of establishing shots because they do that thing where they've got like 5 or 6 different story threads and they jump from one to the other to the other to the other. Pretty normal in movie making. But like when you jump from one to another, it helps if you just sort of have an establishing shot of like where we are. So we're like, oh, okay, because there were a couple bits where they jump from this character to this character, and then I was like, how did they get there? And then I was like, oh no, wait, they're in a different spot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's like
I agree with you. I think he's forgotten how to make movies.
I think when the ratings board rated this movie PG-13, they originally put the length of the movie as 2.5 hours, but the movie that's coming out now is 2 hours. So half an hour seems to have been sliced from this film, which explains no establishing shots.
Oh right, yeah. Yeah. It's funny because like when I left, I was like, yeah, they could have cut out like that whole character, that whole story. That I was still thinking of things they could have cut out.
Yeah, it's like when the Brothers Grimsby came out a few months ago, you could probably count the establishing shots in that movie on one hand, because it's clearly been hacked together in the editing room, and that it's a giveaway sign that happens when there's so few establishing shots in a movie. Because they're like the first to go.
Well, I think See, my verdict is I think it's time to put Roland Emmerich on the funeral pyre right next to Bryan Singer. It's the 90s funeral pyre of people that made good movies in the 90s but can't anymore. Just chuck him on there. You know, next to Bryan Singer and the charred remains of George Lucas, because he got chucked on there in the 90s as well. That's a really grisly image, but
what's depressing about Roland Emmerich sort of being put on that fire, so to speak, on that funeral, is that he's tried to do small films like personal passion projects, like that Stonewall biopic that came out last year in America. That was meant to be terrible. And people hated it. And there was that Anonymous film from a few years ago where it's like, oh, Shakespeare didn't really write all of his plays. That was a passion project for him, and that wasn't meant to be very good. And then when he returns to the blockbuster, which is where he really made his name, that's not very good either. So Roland Emmerich can't really find his place in the modern landscape of filming, really.
Yeah. Sad, isn't it?
It is. It makes me sad. But I was more bored than anything with this film.
Yeah.
I wasn't... There was a lot of assumed empathy and assumed liking of characters. Like, they basically get Liam Hemsworth, or as I like to call him, Diet Hemsworth. They bring him on screen, and it's like, oh, you love this guy now. This is your new Will Smith. You love this guy, yeah. It's like, no, this guy's a douche. He's boring.
Yeah.
Get me Thor already. I don't care about this guy.
And it really made me think of like how much the first Independence Day depended on the wow factor of the special effects, because that movie, the first one, came out at a time when special effects were still special. They did still wow people, and that was a huge factor of why everyone's like, you gotta go see this, it's amazing what they can do now. And watching Independence Day Resurgence, I was like, is it possible that we're all somehow mass hypnotized by those special effects and we didn't realize the rest of the story sucks? Because I still do think the first one holds up.
It does. I saw it
to
the
a
other
degree.
Day. Obviously, I'm not going to put it on a pedestal as masterclass filmmaking or anything, but I had fun with that. Whereas with this, I didn't have fun. I felt so little investment, because there are lots of scenes in the first Independence Day where you do see the mass destruction and the mass casualties. In this movie, apart from like in terms of the supporting characters and the extras and all of the crowds, you only see maybe a handful of deaths. I don't think you see many bodies. Like, there's a scene when some kids are going through a flooded area that seems to deliberately call iconography from like tsunamis that have happened and floodings recently. It's trying to deliberately invoke that, but there's no like floating corpses. There's no dead bodies around, like say Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. Obviously, that makes me sound like a sadist, but there should have been more dead bodies.
Yeah, but I think also part of the reason you're not invested in it this time round is in the first like Independence Day, it's set like in the real world of the 90s, of course, because that's when it was set. But like when you're introduced to the characters, you're like, oh, they live normal lives, just like me. I could be any of these people. So then when
be Will Smith.
Yeah, I could be Will Smith.
Somehow.
So I'd probably be more like Jeff Goldblum.
Hey, that's not a bad thing. I will accept Bill Pullman.
Yeah. But then when the ships show up, it's like you feel like you're in their shoes. You're like, wow, imagine if that happened. So, like, when the destruction hits, you feel it. But with this one, the movie starts to just like, okay, there's this guy, he's on the moon, then there's this other chick, she's in the White House for some reason, even though she seems to be a pilot. I don't know why she's in the White House. Then there's, this other guy who's kind of, we don't know where he is, but he's Will Smith's son. And you're like, okay, so... and the world's not recognizably ours. You're not invested in it.
Yeah, like I think they could have used the opportunity to world build, because we're told that there's since the invasion 20 years ago, there's been world peace. All of the nations have come together. We don't really see it. We only see that when all of the nations of the world come up on computer screens and talk about shooting down alien spacecraft. We don't get a sense of that unity, and I think they really should have just had more stuff on that awesome moon base. I thought that could have been pretty cool, but we don't see much of it. And the only stuff that really works in this film, apart from the special effects, it looks really good with the exception of the aliens. The aliens look like worse than they did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The spacecrafts and the destruction, when it comes into the atmosphere and it's like the clouds are on fire, it looks amazing. I just don't care. but that stuff's awesome, and the stuff with the older cast. Like, I think Jeff Goldblum, I think he might be phoning it in, or maybe that's because what Goldblum does.
Yeah.
I think Bill Pullman,
every actor in this is just like, yeah, I'll read the line. Just give me my paycheck. I want to go home.
Yeah, I think
every single actor is like that.
What's the name of the guy who woke up from the coma? The guy from like 20 years ago. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he was just mainly there for comic relief. Brent Spiner, that's the actor's name.
Oh yeah, Brent Spiner. Yeah. Oh
yeah. So he just seemed to just come out of nowhere. I actually forgot what happened to him in the last film. I just didn't care much about him.
I actually think really I liked Brent Spiner. He seemed like the only one who was actually enjoying being there.
Yeah.
He actually enjoyed being this wacky scientist. So whenever he was on screen, I was like, haha, Data.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah. Yeah, he seemed to know what type of movie he was in.
Yeah.
But when it comes
should we jump into spoilers?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, full spoilers.
Full spoilers. So the chick from It Follows, she spends the entire movie trying to have her hero moment, and it's continually taken away from her.
Yeah.
And it's so unintentionally
she's like,
funny.
Look, I'm Ripley because I'm wearing like a singlet thingy. It's like, you're not Ripley, okay?
Yeah.
You're not.
No, she's not. I'm sure she can do good. She just needs to get a better agent with better scripts. Like, after It Follows and this, she doesn't really... She needs to be cast in movies that have logic to them.
Well, actually, while we're on her... Sorry, finish your thought and then I'll say.
I just think it's really funny how she gets like 4 or 5 moments where it's like, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to take charge and save the world. And at nearly every opportunity, it's taken away from her. And then somebody else takes over, somebody else does it. And it just, after the 4th or 5th time, it just became unintentionally funny. That was really only my point. She had such a thankless role.
Well, I got to tell you, because I sort of like... because I was going to do a video on Independence Day Resurgence, but I dug up so much information that I kind of felt like I already knew what the story was going to be. And it pretty much was. It was just a remake of the other one. But in that, I came up with this conspiracy theory that because she plays the president's daughter from the first one, now grown up, she's Munchkin or whatever she's called in the first one. Yeah. And the new president in this movie is a woman. Now, I read in an article from the dude who plays the African warlord guy, he said there's a gay relationship in this, but we don't make a big deal out of it. It's just kind of there. So I was like, oh, I wonder who it's going to be. But then I read in separate articles that the girl who's playing the president's daughter, she's on the female president's cabinet, but has been, like Roland Emmerich and that, weren't allowing anyone to tell her exactly what her role is in the cabinet. So I thought, oh, maybe the female president is a lesbian and she's the first lady. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool. Right?
Okay.
Turned out that wasn't the case. She wasn't. She was with Liam Hemsworth, so she was a lesbian. Yeah. And the gay relationship was Brent Spiner and that other guy, which, yeah, I didn't realize they were gay. Did you realize they were gay?
No, I didn't.
Not until the death scene.
Which is... if it's put in your face, like, then it's just sort of comes across as pandering.
Yeah.
But I think one of the best ways to do same-sex relationships is to just have it there and not acknowledge it. We've had this discussion before
but
with Disney
they
films,
not
so let's not
acknowledged
open up
it
that
so
can of
much
fish.
that I couldn't see it, even though I was looking for it. Because when I realized the daughter wasn't the one, I was like, I wonder who the gay couple's going to be, and I did not pick it was them, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Well,
whatever.
I didn't even think about that until you just said it. So
yeah. But anyway, I just thought, I think I mentioned that before on the podcast. That's why I thought I better clarify that. I was wrong about that. The president was not a lesbian.
Is that going to be like your review tagline? Spoiler alert: the prime minister was not the president was not a lesbian.
But you know what bothered me is, like, I think now looking back at it, I'm like, maybe the reason they didn't want that actress to explain what her role in the president's staff was is because they changed her role in the movie. Because she starts out as being, I work for the president, and then she changes and she's like, oh no, now I'm also a pilot. So I think they rewrote her character halfway through, and that's why they didn't want her to talk about it. But I was like, do we need another pilot? We've already got Liam Hemsworth. We've got Will Smith's son. Now we got her. We don't need three.
Yeah,
we don't need three pilots. Can't you have it do something else?
We had that Chinese pop star, Angela Baby, voicing that Chinese pilot, and the guy who I swore was Simon Helberg from The Big Bang Theory until I looked it up and found out it wasn't. I thought it was him.
That would have been great if it was him.
It would have been him. And he seems like a funny guy when he's not, on The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was waiting for him to die, but he didn't. I was thinking, oh, here's the lovable comic relief, except he's really annoying, and I'm going to cheer when he dies, and he didn't die.
Yeah.
Like, they needed more people to die in this film.
They really did. Oh, man. But it's like, I found that, like, the backstory, like, because they kind of go, they're like, okay, the aliens have showed up, but then they're like, oh, but also one of the ships did crash in Africa, and there was this tribe, like this warlord tribe that had this sort of guerrilla campaign fighting the aliens for many, many years. Oh, yeah, that happened. And they just kind of mentioned it. I was like, that would have made a better movie.
Yeah,
I would have rather see that. Cool. That sounds cool.
Yeah. The guy who played that warlord, like, he had basically one level to his performance, but he stuck to that level. He went for it. He did, like, you've got to get them from behind, and he gets the machetes out at a moment's notice. I think he should have been the main character. Like, replace Hemsworth Light with that guy, and we would have had a better movie.
Well, remember, like, before he's about to, like, leave and go on the ship to go off to fight the aliens, there's, like, the picture of his younger brother, and he's like, I will avenge you, brother. Which I guess he kind of did in an abstract way. It's like, why'd you put that in? He didn't really avenge you by
killing these other aliens who didn't kill you.
Yeah, if you want to have that, you need to have him be instrumental in, like, killing the queen or something definitive where he feels like he has gotten revenge. He didn't really. He couldn't even defend the stupid sphere thing.
Should we talk about the sphere, which is basically
the sphere.
Which is basically ripped straight from Portal. It looks like Steve Jobs and Gladys's love child. That's what it looked like.
And they ripped off Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that everyone's seeing this orb thing. Because everyone's telepathic. That's another thing. There were 3 telepathic people. There's the president, there's Brent Spiner, and there's the warlord. Why is the warlord telepathic? You don't need 3 people that are telepathic. Maybe just Brent Spiner and that's it. You don't need the others. Don't need 3 pilots, don't need 3 telepaths.
Yeah, like, I think it's strange how Brett Spiner's meant to be the one who was given, like, the full unexposed force of it, but everyone reacts exactly the same, regardless to their level of exposure. Which seems strange.
Brent Spiner should have been the one who was totally in tune with him, because it was right in his head. The president, they shot the thing before it finished. So he should have had, like, maybe just a few dreams, but that's it.
Yeah.
And then Brent Spiner's, like, totally connected. Like, he can understand their language. That's what it should have been. The warlord shouldn't have had anything.
Yeah, but instead, Bill Pullman's character just grew a massive hobo beard and just basically met all of the stereotypes of a retired crazy man president veteran.
Oh God, how cringeworthy was that bit where he starts to give his speech and he puts his walking stick down, like the passion for his country makes it that he can walk again. It's like, please stop.
I will say this, to the credit of Resurgence, it never tries to have that big speech moment. There are two like small speeches with him and the guy who takes over as president, who's William Fincher, aka the original Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Would have been nice to see him as Shredder,
yeah. But yeah, they had like short speeches, but they never tried to recreate that original moment, which I think they would never have been able to top it, I don't think.
Really? I felt like they kind of tried to a few times.
I think they like sort of paid hope that they didn't directly like swell up the music and have a 3-minute speech. They didn't have anything like that. Like, it was one of the few moments of subtlety in Resurgence.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say that there is a subplot where the one of these ships is drilling down into the Earth's molten core, and there's a ticking clock.
Yeah, because apparently that's the thing that the aliens want now.
Yeah, molten cores. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in order to like monitor it, they get in touch with this fishing boat or this boat that's nearby, and they're all just drunk off their asses. I thought I would love to see a movie from their perspective.
Yeah.
Like, forget the sequel baiting at the end of this movie. I just want a side movie where it's just them on that boat.
The drunk sailors going, the aliens are back. Who cares? Let's get drunk.
Yeah. We're rich.
I will not die sober, as the Wolf of Wall Street says.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I found, like, we talked before about the lack of, like, wide shots. Mm-hmm. When the big alien ship shows up, and it clamps around the Earth, there's no... It's not until, like, 20 minutes later, or actually not even to the end of the movie, where you actually see how big that ship is and where it's wrapped around the Earth. Because I was watching it and I was like, hey, okay, so we saw it kind of hit the east coast of America. We saw it pick up Tokyo and dump it on London. But, like, New York, London, Japan, that's the whole world. Those are 3 different spots. It's like a perfect triangle all the way around the world. I was like, is it wrapped around everything? What's going on?
Yeah,
No explanation.
We do see a couple of wide shots, but we only see like maybe a third or like just over a third of the Earth in those shots. We need like a center frame. The Earth is viewable in the entire shot, like as in we can see the whole Earth in this shot, and then we see the spaceship clamped around it. We needed one of those, I think.
Yeah, the only one we get is at the end when it unclamps and disappears because for some reason they all just decide to leave when the Queen's dead.
It's just strange because this movie is meant to be so much bigger than the original. The ship's bigger, there's more aliens, they've had 20 years to prepare, so they've got better technology. It's meant to be so much bigger, but it feels so like there feels like there's so little at stake. There's like so few key players involved. There's so few locations outside of the destruction sequences that it just feels so... It feels oddly small, which is a very weird feeling to have for a movie like this that's trying to be so big and bombastic and all-encompassing.
It doesn't feel bigger or better.
No. No, it doesn't feel like that.
So let's talk about that sphere, okay?
Yes.
So I guess the setup for the sequel is that all the other alien races that are sort of leftovers from that have fled their planets when the bad aliens, who we still don't have a name for yet. Like, that's the thing. If you're introducing a second group of aliens, you need to start naming them. Otherwise, it's confusing to talk about. So, so all of the other collection of aliens that have been defeated are like, we can help you, humans. It's like, well, but how? How can you help? You got your asses kicked. How are you going to help now? You know, we're doing better on our own without you.
Yeah, we've
It's
literally
like the
fought them
Space
off
European
twice
Union.
without you.
I'm sorry, I just had to.
I know you had to. I know. I'm just going to rise above that. Although, it's so funny. Independence Day, and then we just see London get completely destroyed in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, how fitting. How fitting. But yeah, because the Earth has managed to fight these aliens off twice, and they're like, "Oh, we can help you." So no, we can help you. Yeah, selfish aliens.
They just want to have that bit where Brent Spiner looks directly in the camera lens and says, "We are gonna kick some alien ass."
Yep, and then credits roll. The movie literally just stops at the very end. Okay, right, because I will forget to mention him if I don't bring it up now. Jeff Goldblum's dad. Mm-hmm. Remove him from the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
Nothing changes. If you removed him, nothing changes, except they have an escape vehicle at the end.
Yeah, and even then, they don't need it.
Nope.
Yeah.
There's so much fat with this movie.
And they tried to rip off so many other movies. Like, they tried to do the whole Close Encounters of the Third Kind thing. They tried to have the end of Aliens with the Queen Alien and the whole Ripley thing. And, like, it just fails in every way. Yeah, it didn't even successfully rip off the original.
It's like, because the original film, they blew up the White House. This one just nudges the flag off it. Yeah,
that's right. They do, don't they?
That thing should have crushed the White House with like one of its toenails. That's what should have happened.
Oh man, sorry. Keep coughing.
It's okay. So
right.
what is there to say?
What else is there to say? Like, why did all of the aliens leave at the end?
What, the hive?
Yeah, because the Queen dies and they all just unclamp and disappear from the Earth for some reason.
Yeah,
which is strange
still... because the spaceships last time didn't do that.
No, it's like when they blow up the mothership, they still had to defeat all the individual ones down. So like they show that she can sort of telepathically control all the others, or the drones, let's call them. But even if she dies, they should still be able to operate independently and continue fighting.
Maybe they do it like that. If the Queen dies, then maybe they're orderless and they fight sloppy and they don't do very well. So that's how the humans can get the upper hand. But no, if you kill the Queen, they all just crash land and they all die. Apparently, even though early on in the film, I'm just trying to remember.
Don't go down there yourself, Queen. Send a drone to get the sphere. Don't risk it. It all depends on you living. Just send one of the millions of drones you got.
Yeah. Because there's something that they say early on in the film. I'm just trying to remember, because it contradicts itself at the end. Because they say, what we did last time was that we must have killed the Queen and that's how we won. And then later on, when they're saying, so if we kill the Queen, will everything stop? And then the sphere says no one has ever killed a Queen before. It's like, no, we did that 20 years ago, didn't we?
Oh, yeah,
I thought we just said that we killed the Queen 20 years ago, and they're like, nope, never been done. Like, what?
Well, see, the explanation I heard used to explain Independence Day Resurgence, they never ended up using in this movie, which they really could have, because the explanation was the aliens that showed up in the first one, those were like settlers. They weren't really expecting any major opposition. So they were like settlers with muskets. They had some weapons, but weren't really expecting any opposition. But these guys are now the Marines. That would have been a better explanation than this Queen business. You know?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And it would be a good way to raise the stakes.
Yeah.
So
it's not very good, is it?
It's not absolutely terrible, because when the film finished and the credits rolled, I heard a woman near me say that was the worst film I've ever seen in my entire life, which I thought was funny. It's not that bad. It's not even like the worst big budget blockbuster I've seen like in the past couple of months, let alone like that I've ever seen. It's because it's not that good. There's not much to recommend. Like, Jeff Goldblum, he should be fun, but he's not given as much quirky Goldblumness to do. The new cast are just, they're a cipher of personality, just a black hole of nothingness where there's no charm, there's no chemistry or camaraderie. They're just dull as dishwater. But Jesse Usher, who plays the stepson of Will Smith's character, he's not even the son; he's an adopted son.
Yeah,
like he's he has like not even a fraction of a percentage of the Will Smith charm. Like, obviously it's high expectations to have, and it's probably unreasonable to say, oh, this guy who not many people have heard of, he's not really made many films, to have the Will Smith personality. That's unreasonable. But there's nothing there.
They should have compressed his character and Liam Hemsworth's character. They should have made that one guy, so that he's the son of this great pilot, but he's disgraced himself in this way, and now he's sort of exiled to the moon, trying to reclaim the legacy of his dad. That would have been way more interesting.
Yeah,
I think so. Weird sort of rivalry between the two of them, and
yeah,
it's just
and there's
too many characters. Like at the end credits, when it has script written by and then story credits by. There was like 7 names under the script writing and about another 6 the story credits. So it's a classic case of too many cooks around the pot.
Yeah. That really annoys me with movies like this, when it's like, oh, we have 5 writers. Why do you need 5 writers to write aliens show up, wreck stuff, we fight back? Like, you don't need 5 people for that.
Yeah.
You really don't. Right, and then you've got all of these. There's like setup for the sequel, which seems like a lot of that seems missing from the third act. It just seems like there's a lot of stuff missing from this movie, and like it seems like half an hour's been cut from this film if the ratings board are to be believed, and then the movie just stops. There's no conclusion. Like, pretty much, like a third of the planet has been physically destroyed, and then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, celebrate!" It's like, what? What are you on?
And we don't even I like that they expanded the universe a little and introduced other alien races, but we still don't even really know why the aliens do what they do. Like in the first one, they said they travel from planet to planet, consuming all the resources, but this one is like draining the lava from the center of the Earth for some reason. We don't know why. It's their fuel they kind of mentioned, but...
One of the biggest issues with the first Independence Day is that sequence where the aliens take. Who do they talk through when they talk about I think it's with the president, and then he tells them their plan. Like, they go from planet to planet and destroy everything, and they harvest. Yeah. I would rather that scene just not existed, and that these aliens just show up, they destroy stuff. We don't know why. They just do it, and that's more terrifying than just giving this pseudo out-of-nowhere explanation.
That's a bit like War of the Worlds, isn't it? It's never really expressed why they're doing it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there are a few hints that we figure out, like that they in War of the Worlds, that they drink our blood. That's something that they do. But when you have the president basically just say for like 30 seconds what their motivation is directly to the camera, I think that kind of loses something from the omnipresent unknown threat of an alien invasion. And I think that when they're like, they take the molten core, they use it to fuel their ships, I would just rather that the aliens were so pissed off that we beat them 20 years ago.
Yeah,
they don't want anything, they just want us gone.
Yeah. Yeah, which they could have easily done. So that was going to be my next question. I was like, so did they target Earth because we beat them before, or is it just a coincidence that they're like, oh, here's a planet? Like, no, you have to have it that they come back for revenge. Otherwise, what's the point?
And I think that's more... I think the fact that they came back 20 years later with a grudge as opposed to a motive is more terrifying. Because then it's like, oh, well, we want revenge, but we also want your core, as opposed to, no, we just want to make you our alien bitch.
Yeah, because it could have, like, before it was like, we want your planet. But this one could have been just like, now we're going scorched earth. We're just going to destroy your planet, destroy you, get revenge.
It would have been funny if the alien... It would have been cool if the alien queen had been like, you know what? Once we kill you, we're not even going to take your planet. We don't want it. We're just going to kill you and leave. We don't even want your molten core.
I mean, if you really wanted to like leave it on a cliffhanger for the next one, you have the aliens win and kill all humans, and it's like maybe a couple of 100,000 humans flee the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go to the weird iPhone orb things planet.
Yeah,
that's
Steve Jobs planet. The Planet Jobs.
It's where he is now. May he rest in peace. You know.
He's on
He's
planet
gone
Jobs.
to a better place.
His own planet.
Why did they give that Sphere such a stupid voice too?
I don't know. They say it's like it's your primitive language, it's your primitive culture, and we're so primitive. We killed these aliens twice.
Yeah, we've done what you could never do. We've done what literally no one else in the universe has done twice. And it really wasn't that hard.
Well, apart from the billion casualties, that's another thing. When the ship is about to land, there's a radio broadcast saying that we estimate the death toll to be unimaginable, or that we estimate the damage to be unimaginable, and then you never really see the damage. You don't really see the fallout of it, which is just another. It just feels like there's so little consequence or so little at stake, despite this being a globe-ending catastrophe. And I guess it's lacking spark, it's lacking spirit, or that sense of optimism and heart that the first movie did. This one just feels like an excuse to make more sequels because it's a brand. It's been 20 years, so we can do a 20 years later sequel because that's the trend.
Do you think they will do a
Zoolander 2
sequel?
did it so well.
They probably won't now.
They might do. I imagine this being a profitable film, but I think it's going to perform way below expectations. I think that 20th Century Fox were predicting this to be $1 billion film, and if, not to harp on this point, but if Deadpool can outgross Independence Day Resurgence on a third of the budget, we're going to see major restructurings there. We're not going to see X-Men go to space. We're going to see them go to China. That's what's going to happen.
That's right.
Harsh but true. I mean, Warcraft. They're not going to go to what's it called, Azeroth? Is that the Warcraft universe? No, they're not going to go there. They're going to go to China in the movie. They're going to do what Transformers did. The orcs are going to go to China.
So, what would your? I'm assuming we're sort of wrapping up because I don't really have much else to say about it. Do you?
there really isn't much to say, is there?
No. It's not very good. It doesn't make sense, and it's just kind of all over the place.
It's not without merit. It just never really comes together for a satisfying whole. It's apart from the aliens, which just look pants. Some of the special effects are great. There are some great tableaus and vistas, and Roland Emmerich can still make some great trailer shots, but in terms of making a fun time at the movies, I think he's kind of lost it. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10, just below average.
Okay, yeah, I was going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay,
yeah, I'd say
enough.
5 out of 10 because it's just it's the kind of thing where it's if it's Friday afternoon at 4:30 and it's on TV and you got nothing to do, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it. Yeah, it's that kind of movie.
This is going to be that Pompeii movie that came out a few years ago. Basically, whenever that movie's on TV, it's is it the last 30 minutes where the volcano's erupting? Yeah, I'll watch it because that volcano eruption is amazing to watch, but that's literally all the movie has going for it. If Resurgence is on TV, is the alien ship landing? Yeah, I'll watch that for 15 minutes and then just go to another channel. That's basically this movie's legacy for me.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay, so here we have listener questions. First of all, Alexander on the Movie Mania, on the Movie Mania Twitter says, "What's the best movie of the decade so far?" He says, "I would say Whiplash." Well, I'm biased. Obviously, I think Mad Max Fury Road is the best movie of the decade so far. That's my personal favourite. That's a big call, isn't it? Of the whole decade.
So are we going from 2010 to 2016? Or 2006 to 2016?
Well, decade's 12 years, is it?
Decade's 10 years. You're thinking of dozen.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Math!
Maths is not my strong suit.
I think if we're going from 2010 onwards, I would say I think Avengers is one of the most influential in terms of its approach to the business. But when we come to just downright quality, I think we've got movies like Inside Out. what else is there? Whiplash is a really good choice. That's definitely a contender.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street. I'm just thinking what else there is. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, but I'm biased because I love that franchise.
Expecto Patronum!
Woo! I think I'm going to go for Inside Out.
Okay, yeah. Really, best movie of the decade this so far, Inside Out.
If we're going for the
I
past
guess
6
that makes
years,
sense.
yeah, I think that's a good pick. Off the top of my head, maybe if I looked back at my top 10 list from the past few years and thought about it some more, I love the movie Frank, but I don't think I'd go as far as to say it's the best movie of the decade. I think that was my favourite movie of 2014, but I wouldn't go that far. But off the top of my head, Inside Out. That's my answer.
Okay, cool. So, over on the Facebook page, Erwin David says, he's got 2 questions here. One of them we kind of answered. He says, do you think there'll be a sequel to Independence Day Resurgence? I said no, you said maybe, but they'll target China.
Yeah.
He also said, do you want to see Will Smith return? No, I don't.
I think the franchise wants him to return, but I don't think Will Smith wants to return. I think the franchise needs him more than he needs the franchise.
Yeah. Actually, mind you, if they do want to bring him back in Independence Day 3, he'll have to be a zombie or a clone or something. Because he's
Zombie
dead.
Smith.
Yeah. So in that case, yes. Yes, I do want to see him come back, because I'd like to see what kind of excuse they come up with for bringing him back.
Well, they could always use the excuse like, oh, he was flying alien technology, and that's he crash landed, and that's how he died. Maybe the splitting of the fusion reaction in the jet teleported him to the planet that they just so happen to have lots of alien species on that are collaborating to try and fight the aliens. And now
maybe the orb teleported him out of there.
Or maybe he was sent back in time and he became the warlord.
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, no, we're not targeting China anymore. We're targeting.
See, now this is sounding interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I would like to see that.
Yes, do it. Will Smith becomes a badass warlord. Like you don't even need Will Smith to return. You just get that guy.
That's right.
Yeah, same character. But you've somehow retconned it. Here we go.
Seth Monteith says, are there any particular movie genres that appeal to you the most? I know you're a big fan of the found footage horror because you talk about the found footage horror movies a lot.
Sorry,
you talk about how much you hate them, yeah.
If one comes along and it's good, I'll say it's good, but you've got to work hard for that. You've got to impress me. Yeah. you've got to wine and dine me first. But for the ones that have much easier tendencies to get into bed with me, if we're going for this dating metaphor, would probably be probably action sci-fi, probably that sort of genre, aliens or space, it's stuff like that, or mad science, basically.
Yeah.
Because a lot of movies like District 9 and Ghostbusters, just a lot of my favourite movies, Terminator 2, do tend to fall into that category. So I think it's just sort of what my brain is naturally wired to like. So, do you have a favourite genre? Yeah,
well, if I could compare it to... I was trying to think of how I could apply this to the dating metaphor, but I can't think of a way. So this is... my equivalent is like someone saying, what's your favourite food? And I say, an all-you-can-eat buffet. Because there's everything there. So my favourite movie genre would be comic books, because within comic books there's all the other genres, you know?
Yeah.
As we covered. So that's the all-you-can-eat buffet. There's enough variety in there that it keeps you entertained.
Yeah, you like anthology movies.
Yes.
Exactly. That's a cheating answer. But one genre that I don't dislike, I just don't think they make that many good movies, is romance. I think there's so many just simplistic, poorly thought out romances. Like, even some of the best romance movies ever made tend to not register that well with me. Like, I saw 4 Weddings and a Funeral the other day because my girlfriend made me watch it. Yeah. Like, she just literally just forced me to watch it. It's like, it's an Academy Award nominated film. It's meant to be one of the most iconic British films ever made. It's alright. It's okay. Passes the time. Hugh Grant was okay. The American lady was incredibly annoying, but it's all right.
Full Monty's more interesting. Yeah,
Full Monty is that's actually a good film. I like Full Monty. And I like the film as well. Oh,
Wasn't there Prince Charles reenacted that bit where they're all standing in the line, and that song comes
probably.
on when they're in the.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Hot stuff, baby. The sea. All
That's
right.
such a good scene.
RG Lestrange says, "What's your favorite Will Smith movie?"
I need to think about Wild Wild West,
Yeah.
which he recently disowned this past week. I think he admitted it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Probably didn't have enough giant spiders.
Now, maybe it has to be Independence Day for me. I don't know.
I think maybe I like Men in Black.
Yeah, that was good. That was good at the time. It doesn't hold up, though. You go back and watch it now, you're like, this is really as good as we thought it was. It's really not.
I think Concussion is one of his best performances, but not one of his best films, because I think he's really good in Concussion. You know what? I'm going to say I Am Legend.
Yeah, I was thinking I Am Legend, yeah.
It might not be, a film that he is in, it might not be the best movie of the lot, but in terms of being a vehicle that Will Smith basically carries for 2 hours, I think, maybe I Am Legend. Hancock could have been awesome if the second half didn't just completely go off the rails.
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually going to go with The Pursuit of Happiness. Like, because if you're thinking about, like, his performances, I think he did really good in that movie.
Yeah. I need to rewatch that.
Even with his son there.
No, I thought his son was okay from memory.
Yeah,
in that
was like the only time his son was actually good.
Oh, and in the Karate Kid remake, it was okay in that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I was finishing my coffee.
Okay.
All right. Seb Petey says, favorite quote from The Simpsons. My favorite quote is, oh man, there's so many. It's hard to pick one.
I know, you've got literally 30 years of quotes to go from.
Well, what about that one where Homer goes, every time I learn something new, it pushes something old out of my brain. Remember when I took that home winemaking course and I forgot how to drive? And Marge was like, that's because you were drunk. Home winemaking course and I forgot how to drive. You were drunk.
I've kind of cheated here and I've just Googled Simpsons quotes and just seen what comes to mind. Me fail English? That's impossible. Don't make me run, I'm full of chocolate.
That weird little German character, yeah.
Yeah, Uta.
Uta, that's it.
Yeah,
isn't there a little Uter in all of us? Remember that Halloween story where the teachers cannibalized the kids?
Yes. You could say, he's in our stomachs, and we're eating him right now. Okay, one that's popped up on Google when Homer's at work and he's got a towel on and he answers the phone. Hello? You'll have to speak up, I'm wearing a towel. But, one of my favourites is when, I can't remember what episode it's from, but when Homer's just on the couch and he says, I love these lazy Saturdays. It's Wednesday, Homer. that just sums up so much of my life.
And he's and he runs out.
I think it's from the same Halloween special that you brought up a minute ago. The Nightmare on Elm Street one where groundskeeper Willie dies. And Homer's at the temperature dial. Do not touch Willie. Good advice.
You know, the Simpsons movie has a lot of good quotes too. Like Mr.
Does.
Burns is like, well, for once, the rich white man is in charge.
Yes.
Or like, they put up the thing so no one can dump in the lake, and the mob has like a body wrapped up in a carpet, and they're about to throw it in. And Chief Wiggum is like, sorry, no dumping in the lake. And he goes, fine, I'll take my yard trimming somewhere else. And he goes, Chief, I think there was a dead body in there. He goes, I thought so too, until he said yard trimmings. You gotta learn to listen, Lou. There's like feet sticking out the end of it.
But what's the episode where there's so many episodes you just can't remember, when Bart is imagining what he's going to be like when he's older if he becomes really lazy and he's really fat and people are taking photos of him and he says, I wash myself with a rag on a stick. Oh, there's so many quotes. I'm gonna listen back to this podcast later and just be like, why didn't I mention that one? Why didn't I mention that one or that? There's no right answer to this question. When Homer has a barbecue and Lisa becomes a vegetarian, and the invitation says, "Come to Homer's BBBQ." The extra B is for BYOBB.
What's that extra B for?
Doesn't make any sense.
He goes, "It's typo."
My eyes, the goggles do nothing.
We could just go for another hour with all these quotes.
When Homer goes to space and the ants break out, and Ken Brockman, the news reporter, thinks that they've been invaded, I, for one, welcome our new insect overlords. Yeah.
All right. Here's a question I'll need to defer to you on.
There's one more.
All right.
If God needs money, why doesn't he just write another Bible? The first one sold pretty well. I wish The Simpsons was good again.
Oh man. All right, here's one for you. Da Germinator, good name, says, which is the best house from Harry Potter and why? Which would you want to be in? Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin?
That's sacrilege, that pronunciation. I'm going to give the geeky answer in that if you go on Pottermore, which is like the official Harry Potter fan website, you can do an official test and find out which house you'd belong in. I did the test and I got Ravenclaw, and my girlfriend got Hufflepuff, which means we are like born enemies. Where like Ravenclaw are meant to be like really smart,
like Romeo
and
and Juliet. There you go.
Exactly, yeah. Two houses, both alike in dignity and wizardry and stuff. And Hufflepuff are meant to be like dumb but really kind-hearted, which is not a nice way to describe people.
Is that the one that you got, or your girlfriend got?
My girlfriend got that one. I got Ravenclaw, which is meant to be sort of like the smart, what do you call it? Not. They're sort of more brash. Gryffindor is just brave and good and boring and all that stuff, and Slytherin, basically you are just a terrorist in waiting, basically.
Yeah.
Basically it is like,
so you've got noble, good,
smart
and slimy.
Yeah, right, basically.
Cool.
So that's basically it.
Is that the one that Voldemort is from?
Yes, and Harry is from Gryffindor.
The boring good one. That's the Leonardo of the like the Ninja Turtles. It's a Leonardo of houses.
Yeah, and Ravenclaw's the Donatello, Hufflepuff is the Michelangelo, and Slytherin is the Raphael. Basically, if we are going this metaphor as far as it can go. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, now moving on.
Last question. Well, actually, we got a couple others, but last question. Hopes for the new Star Trek series. Rumor is that there will be an anthology season between the first season of the original series and Next Gen, and it's confirmed to be the old continuity. Okay, so I'm a huge Trek fan. Mm-hmm. You're not really into Trek, are you? You're a Whovian.
So you take this one because I took the Harry Potter one.
All right. So it's set between the original series with Captain Kirk and the Next Gen series with Picard. Right off the bat, I thought that was a mistake. I think you should set it after the Next Gen series. That way you can still have Patrick Stewart come in and drop in and pay a visit or whatever, because all those actors are still around. If you set it before that, you can't have any of them because none of them have been born. Stupid. And initially when I heard that, I thought maybe they're doing that so it's in the same timeline as the new movies and they want to plug into that new audience, because the movies did bring in a new sort of audience. But now, apparently it's confirmed to be the old continuity, not the new one, which makes that pointless. So this whole thing just seems kind of pointless to me. But that being said, I'm stealing Trey's line. I'm so starved for some good Star Trek again. I've watched like all the episodes of everything a million times over, and I really believe Star Trek's something really special to not just sci-fi fans, but just to the world. I think it's a gift. It's a great philosophy to have, and I just want more Trek. I really do. I hope it'll be good, but I just want more Trek. More Trek. More Trek.
More Trek.
I guess like the Harry Potter houses, like Gryffindor, if that's the good and boring one, that would be the Federation in Star Trek. If Hufflepuff is friendly but kind of dumb, actually I don't think Star Trek has an equivalent of that.
Isn't it the new movies?
Yeah, I guess.
Mass appeal,
that'd be
not
the new
really
movies.
smart.
Ravenclaw is smart and a little bit evil. That would be the Romulans, because they're smart and cunning, but they're not always bad. You can sometimes work with them. And Slytherin, that would either be the Kardashians or maybe the what are they called? God, my brain's still not working. The ones who love money. There you go.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, look, there's a couple other questions left, but we'll bank them for the next time.
Okay.
Because I think we're at the 2-hour mark almost.
But everything you've said about Star Trek, I'm going to respond to that with one of the most iconic Doctor Who quotes ever. I can't stand the confusion in my mind. I only really know the movies, and I've watched maybe like 3 or 4 of the original Star Trek movies. And I've watched the new ones that have come out. I've only watched like 1 episode of the TV series, and that was messed up. They went to like an Alice in Wonderland planet. It was that got trippy. That got trippy real quick.
It gets trippy a lot, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Star Trek's always really kind of worked just as a TV show. It's never really worked in movie forms, but yeah, for the uninitiated, most people know it from the movie forms, which is not putting your best foot forward. But yeah. Star Trek, I love it.
I couldn't tell.
I want more Trek.
Oh, by the way, just before we start recording, there was a new trailer for Star Trek Beyond, which wasn't bad. Trailer looked okay.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was done to like a new Rihanna song, which normally I'd hate, but it was actually cut together pretty well. Like, it's not an amazing trailer, but it looks all right.
Can we get some nerdy Star Trek again? Why are they trying to make it Fast and the Furious?
It's coming soon. It's coming soon on TV, apparently.
Oh, God.
You don't have long to wait.
All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. And next week we'll be covering something. We don't know what next week will be. We'll figure it out.
We're going in blind.
Trilbee, where can people find you?
You can find me. I'm not doing much content over the past few weeks because of my work, but that I finish. By the time we do the next podcast, I will have finished that job, so expect regular content once again. That should be a lot of fun. You can find that hooray! You can find that content on www.trilbee.com. That's TRILBEE. I also have a Patreon, which helps to pay the bills, and I've also got my YouTube channel, Trilbee Reviews, and Mr. TARDIS Reviews, where you can find a lot of my TV stuff, which I'm hoping to redo again. I'm hoping to restart my gaming channel, Trilbee Gaming. I was hoping to do that in April, but then I got this job and that got pushed back. But once that's done, I can finally start doing Let's Plays and some gaming videos, and that should be a lot of fun. So, yeah, I think this is a fun podcast. Let's get our Independence Day on.
That's right. And people can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. Thank you for watching our Movie Maniacs.